Okay.
starting with, I guess, the Philadelphia Story. I watched that one first, so you did not enjoy. I take it.
No.
I
I
mean, I saw your letterbox review, so I know you didn't think it was great, and I think I get it. I definitely think I enjoyed it more than you did, but I don't know what was your main gripe?
I didn't care about anything that was happening.
Okay, I mean, yeah, fair. I did have the thought watching this. This is a sort of directed by George Cukor, which I don't know if we've watched any of his features yet. Maybe we have.
I don't think so.
Yeah, me neither. It's screwball comedy. I had the thought: has screwball comedies finally gotten too mean?
Yeah, like it's not
And
playful. It's not
it's not
fun.
it's not even that I think this movie is necessarily mean. It's the fact that I think all of the characters in it are kind of awful people, which
Yeah.
can work. I think it's sort of has, and I'm doing sort of a Boss Baby vibes joke here, but it has kind of a Succession or Arrested Development thing going on, where it's like all the characters
Okay.
are terrible people,
Right.
but there is amusement to be had in watching their hijinks,
Yeah.
And I don't think that the characters in this are necessarily as bad as the characters in those TV shows, but they're definitely leaning into this whole sort of like tabloid people are bad and rich people are also bad. So let's pit them against each other and watch the sparks fly, kind of.
Right. But I think that like in that there is this kind of like you're supposed to kind of feel this tension, right?
Hmm.
Between it's a love triangle movie.
It
Uh
is a love hexagon movie.
right.
There
I
are
didn't
five characters who are all somehow romantically linked to at least one or two others.
I didn't count the faces of this pentagon, but this love pentagon.
Is it a
But
pentagon? I guess it's the same shape, right?
wait, a polygon is what I meant. This love polygon. The number of sides on it. But yeah, like, this is because these people are just kind of despicable to each other. I think that it like doesn't really sell like you don't get swept up in the romance, right? Like if you are to take some of these other screwball comedies that have meanness and snippiness in them, there's this affability to it. There's this the like there the, very crucial is that it's giving you affection for the people that are in this so that you can laugh while you watch them be nicely mean to each other, right?
Mm,
uh I don't know. It's hard to explain, but there's something about the form, like the way this movie came together, that just really didn't work for me.
mm. I do think there's the characters in this are a little bit less charming than I think some of the other similar kind of screwball comedy movies that we've seen. And I think I don't know, overall I think this is kind of a dumb movie, but I think it's a fun time. I don't know. There's enough just like 30s 40s silliness in it that I just enjoy. Right? It's got a great cast of Katherine Hepburn, James Stewart, and Cary Grant.
Hmm.
Just doing the most 1940s voices possible. But yeah, I mean the opening scene of this movie is like, let's start the movie off with some light domestic violence to get everyone on in the right mood. And I think that is kind of like that kind of sums up what doesn't work about the movie. Is like it's sometimes it's sometimes too mean, or it sometimes just feels like it's harder to root for the characters when they're being this kind of just like snipey. It's less of the kind of like charming meanness, right? That and
Yeah,
I think it's a very subtle distinction. Like I think
yeah.
that's a really hard. If anything, it makes me appreciate a lot of the other movies more because it makes me
The
see like, oh
the
wow, when it's
magic in
like
the script.
when the dial is just a little bit off, it really doesn't work as well.
This is a beloved movie. I don't really get it, but it. I think that you're right. That it's like, I mean, don't. I want to be comfortable with any kind of setup of a movie. I'm not the kind of person that's like, you
Mhm.
gotta like the protagonist, you know? But
Right,
like,
yeah.
I think that if you're gonna do this kind of movie, then you need to have affection for your characters because it just doesn't work otherwise, like we're
Mm,
seeing. Like it's just watching a bunch of people sniping at each other. I think the movie wants you to feel the stakes, but because you don't have this kind of fundamental care for the characters and where they go, it doesn't feel like anything is loaded with real stakes.
right. The worst part of it is weirdly like the first act, because that's kind of where the characters are at their worst a lot of the time. Like that's where we're establishing just sort of like how kind of miserable all these people are. And so therefore just like how much they're just treating everyone around them not well. Once it gets to the point where everyone is like, or where at least Catherine Hepburn and James Stewart are like hammered and are just sort of like
Yeah.
drunkenly kind of stumbling around, then I'm on board
Th-
fully. Then
th-
I'm just like, well, now this is fun.
there's some charm in that part.
Yeah. Some really great drunk acting by Jimmy Stewart in this movie.
Yeah.
Like and a lot of like subtle little drunk things. Like just like the way in which he'll like get caught up on on words and things like that, or like have to it's a pretty like comedic drunk performance, but it's
Yeah.
still there's a lot of little things where there I think he's getting like he like sits in a wheelbarrow and then Catherine Hepburn starts pushing him in the wheelbarrow and he goes wee like in the middle of a sentence. He's like
Okay,
talking
that
and
was
like
very good. That was very
between
good.
like two words of his sentence he just goes wee and continue and then just immediately continues talking.
No, I love that part actually. Yes.
They were like, "Hey, you know, we've seen love triangles. What if we do a love pentagon, right? Like what if we just crank this up even further?"
Love Pentagon sounds like a Netflix reality show.
It probably is, and you know, for all I know. This movie has the classic, I mean, one of the two movies that we watched for this year, the classic there's a wedding happening tomorrow and Cary Grant is involved. And like that is a thing, right? Cuz like Bring Up Baby has that, this movie has that, and then spoilers for the next movie that we're talking about, His Girl Friday. All three are Cary Grant movies where he is somehow involved or adjacent to a wedding that is happening the next day.
Specifically in these, trying to stop that wedding so that the woman can be with him instead.
Well, in Bring Up Baby, right? It's his wedding,
Yeah, I
so
mean
he's
this
trying
with
to
this and His Girl
right.
Friday.
Yeah, and in all three, there's sort of right. There is a kind of like fiance character who's kind of a buffoon. There's like a fiance who gets introduced, and immediately you're like, oh, no one's ending up with this guy
Right.
or this gal.
Yeah, in this one, it's like, this guy doesn't know how to get on a horse. Like, you think he's a
Yeah.
real man?
I mean that basically is kind of what the movie is positing a little bit. I think there's a lot of stuff in this movie that doesn't work, but I think the stuff that does for it works well enough for me that I enjoy it.
Hmm.
And just kind of like the very like I don't know, silly like rom-com stuff of like right towards the end when it's like, oh man, like Rishi has this kind of like drunken fling with Jimmy Stewart the night before her wedding. And so
Hmm.
then she's like, "Oh no, what am I going to do?" And then she also, right, is like she's divorced from Cary Grant, but like there's that thing. And so there's this moment where it's like the wedding is about to happen and there's like three possible grooms and it's like, "Oh no, who's she going to marry?" It feels like a real kind of solid screwball comedy premise. I almost kind of wish that section of the movie had been kind of stretched out a little bit more. I
Hmm.
think the first half of this movie is doesn't work that great, and then I think the second half has a lot of really good stuff in it. And I wish that maybe I don't know they'd found a way to kind of incorporate more of that stuff earlier, or just have the beginning not be so kind of uh, unpleasant.
Right. And yeah, speaking of the wedding, this is like kind of the example of a comedy of remarriage, which,
Yeah, a lot of divorce in these like screwball comedies I've noticed.
yeah, I mean, so friend of the show Jack Vernick was talking to me about, a book about the kind of coined this term called the Pursuits of Happiness, the Hollywood comedy of remarriage,
Hmm.
where it's basically like the idea with this is because like extramarital things are kind of not allowed so much. They kind of have people and like kind of this like boyfriend swapping situation is not something that would be allowed. They kind of create this like sort of contrived scenario where like this person's temporarily not married, where they can like do all of this fun silly plot stuff, and then they kind of bring them back together again, and it's wholesome and
Right.
and haze appropriate,
Yeah. Right, which I feel like I think even a lot of like the Ernst Lubitsch movies tend to have this like they end up in a place that is very kind of traditional.
normative. Yeah.
Right. Like I Don't Want to Be a Man, I think was kind of the one that stuck out the most because that one's like German I mean, doesn't even matter pre-code because it wasn't in the States.
Weimar era.
Yeah. But like even that movie, I think right, it ends in this very kind of like right normative man is with woman and it is all above board, you know? And yeah, that definitely seems to be a thing with I think even the more kind of boundary pushing comedies that we've watched they tend to end up in a fairly traditional place, except maybe
Designed for a living.
Design for Living, which is
Yeah.
kind of the thing that makes that one really stand out.
Yeah. They sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
That's
Um,
true, right?
that's interesting.
Yeah,
It's a pretty new reference.
right. New reference, but also, it was a big song, very popular, made it into
Yeah.
other movies.